Okay. Give up then. Great, you guys do your thing. I'm just gonna quit recording anything.
So maybe you're here to watch me get my butt kicked. And I do. I get it thoroughly kicked in this video. And then I decide to stop recording and I'm a quitter. I'm a quitter today. What are you gonna do? It happens. It happens to the best of us. Even the professionals get their butt kicked from time to time. And this is one of those days. So let me read off some stuff here that I had problems with that I wrote down. So I had the problems that I had with this bumper is my slip solution was too soapy. Install and positioning problems around the fog lights. That was a good time. Not removing and adjusting the pattern around the license plate holder. Definitely should have just taken that thing off or not adjusted it to go behind it and just completely went around it. Would have been a much better call than trying to tuck it in behind it. The sprayer handle broke. That's the first one of those I've ever broken, so that was kind of a surprise, but it did break. Having to pull up and reposition this kit a whole bunch of times. That was rough. And then fighting the little bits of lint and specks of dirt underneath the material. That was a real struggle on this vehicle. I'm not sure exactly where all that came from, but you know, some vehicles must get dirtier than others, and even though I did my regular cleaning, still had a huge fight today. So anyway, enjoy the video of me getting my butt kicked. And that's that.
How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore, PPF, and Tint, and today we have a 2025 Ford Explorer ST in the shop, and we're going to be installing some paint protection film on the front end of this vehicle. So today what we're going to work on in this video is going to be installing a kit on the front bumper. We're going to put a piece on here, as well as something on the black part, on the splitter part here. And that's it. This is a little bit more, we're only doing a partial hood package on this one, so it's a little bit more budget friendly pricing. We did not take off the license plate frame. It's got some plastic rivets that I don't have. And so we are going to be cutting around that today. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started on this. Just giving it a final glance over for any little tiny specks. I kind of went over it already with the clay bar and washed the vehicle, obviously, so we should be in pretty good shape. Just one last glance. Okay, let's go ahead and get some slip on here. Grab our pattern. Okay, we'll get this laid on here into place. There was a little piece of lint right there I went ahead and took off. This is kind of sliding a little bit. I think I am up to 13 milliliters of soap. Probably could have stayed around 10 or a little bit less. Now the kit and the computer did say that this was inconsistent on placement, so I went ahead and scooted all the sides in each direction in by 1 inch. So I made that adjustment to this kit. Other than that, this is exactly what's in the computer. All right, great. Let's go ahead. We're gonna get started in this area here. Okay, so let's get this pulled back so that it's not tacked down. And then let's get this put into place here. So it looks like this is gonna roll over and go towards the grill there. So seemingly, something about like that. I wonder how high they want you to go. How far under the headlight are they planning on having this go? Let's look at this. So it looks like right about there is good alignment there. So it almost looks like at this body line here is where kind of this relief cut here is supposed to be. Yeah, real close to that. Then let's double check back here again. What we want is just to get this lined up pretty darn good for placement. You don't want to start and have things be real crooked or anything. You're never going to get it lined back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and then squeegee this part here out. Then we'll see how this tacks up with a little bit of extra soap I have in there today. It's a little bit more on the chilly side today, which also could mean you could use less soap in the slip solution. All right, so we are going to need to come this way a little bit, and that'll help get rid of this finger as well as get this stretched over a little bit further so that it's basically just at that edge. And then we want to look and make sure here that when we do get this stretched into place that this isn't going to be overhanging. That looks pretty good. And actually, I don't think it was so much stretch. Oh, look, this came loose. Okay, so we're going to need just tack in here now. So let's go ahead, unfortunately, kind of start over. Okay, but at least now we understand the placement. So starting again won't be that difficult. Okay, so right there. I'd like to get just over this body line, or to that body line there. Okay. And let's see here. So it's looking like right about there is getting us, well, we're a little bit too far this way now. So right there actually gets that lined up real good. And it looks like there's going to be a decent stretch downward, and that gets us lined up really good right here as well. Do we need to come down a little? Let's check this. I don't know, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead, we're going to squeegee this out over to here, to where my fingers are. So let's go ahead and do that. It really wasn't much stretch. More kind of alignment. Okay. There, so that's tacked down now. Now we've got about a 1/4 inch here that we need to stretch up, which seems like an awful lot for the area. There's really, I mean, those little fingers there, that's not much for such a stretch, but should completely get rid of them. No doubt about that. All right, so I'm getting this top lined up. There we go. We want this edge to be lined up really good, and we're getting some pre-tacking there. So let's go ahead now, lift that back up, get some slip in there, and all we want is some tack on the very edge there. And we can pull this up into place, get it nice and lined up. So I'm looking here, see it's lined up, I'm looking there, and then obviously I'm looking here as well. And then we'll get this last inch here. Squeegee down. Just gonna put my fingers on that to hold it in place while I kind of break this part loose, because we put some stretch and then some pressure, and really it's about the pressure I put on it that got that to pre-tack. So we need to break that loose. All right, just make sure we're not hanging over the edge here and that we're underneath the headlight a little bit right there. Okay. So that looks good. And I'll go ahead and just swipe this out. We'll just do a kind of a quick pass on that. We're gonna have to come back and put some tack solution and stuff and get the rest of this down. But what I want to get down right now is that I want to get this stretch. We don't want to let this sit for too long and create a hard line here where this is dried and this is wet, because we're gonna need to stretch a decent amount away from it to get rid of these fingers. And I don't want to leave a stretch line here, so it's important that we get this stretched as soon as possible. You can see here we need at least a 1/4 inch. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is first let's make sure we have no pre-tacking, And then in that last inch or so, we're gonna get some tack. And then we're gonna stretch this down into place. And now it's a decent little stretch, and we need all the stretch really to be in this area here. There's no stretching really in this area below it. So I'm gonna get my hand up here so that we get rid of these fingers entirely when we do our stretch. Now I've got that bottom lined up really good. And since we've got some tack in there, let's get a little mist on that. And then the reason that I dried that off was because if you dry off the material, you're gonna get a really good grab a hold of it with your hand. Your hand's gonna stick to it really well instead of continually like slipping off of it when you're trying to stretch it. All right, so all this is lined up really good. Looks like we're over, oh, okay, hang on. Let's get this back on again. So right there. Okay, now, okay, let's go over, back over this way just a little bit. And we'll go ahead, squeegee this stuff out this way. Okay, and then we'll bring the rest out this direction here. Okay. Just double checking, make sure I'm not leaving any moisture behind. It's hard to see it in white. Okay, so what I want to do now is go ahead and get this part wrapped into place. We're just hanging over the edge. Guess we could have gone this way a little bit more. Maybe it didn't want you to ride that line. Maybe it wanted you to hang over and kind of turn that corner a little. Not sure. Yeah, that might have been just the right amount. We're just gonna have to trim this though. All right, let's get some tack in here. So what I want, which is then gonna kind of mess up this line too. Okay. All right, let's do this whole part over again just real quick here. So we're gonna hang over the edge just a little bit so we can barely round that corner. We'll see if this makes any difference. Okay. Didn't move it over much, but it did move it over just enough. The reason I moved that over because that's also going to affect where this lines up and where the seam goes, and I didn't want to affect what they were exactly what they were trying to get us to do. That's why I lifted this back up and moved it over. Really, the placement seemed fine other than it was overhanging here, which I could have trimmed, but that would have affected where our seam was going to be, and I didn't want to mess with that. So that's why I lifted that back up and started that spot again. You know, the first time you're doing one of these vehicles like this, it's tough because you're guessing a little bit on where they're expecting you to have things lined up, because there's really no instructions for that. I mean, the only way to make instructions for that really would be to make a video on how to install it and explain exactly where it was supposed to line up. Okay, so we're rolling this. Left a little bit of air there, so just pick that back up. And we'll take this up a little bit. And we'll get to that here in just a moment. Let's get this part down. So I'm rounding that edge, pushing all this down, And then we'll take this all the way to the back, and that's lining up great now. I mean, no overhang or anything, nothing's gonna need to be trimmed. And then let's just double check this rounded edge here. And then double check there, make sure everything's down. Okay, now this here, you know, if you just push it over, you can see it looks like there's like some extra material there. And so what that means is that what's gonna help us there is to put a tiny bit of stretch on that. And before I do that, I wanna get myself my smaller squeegee. And then we can put just a little bit of tug on that, and that'll get rid of that excess material. And then we can round that all the way up there. Then I'll hold that down so it doesn't just continue to pop back up, and we'll go ahead and push the rest of this out. And by holding that there for just a couple seconds and then pushing it down, it stayed right on down. Okay, double checking for moisture left behind. Great. Okay, now let's start looking at this. And the reason I want to get all this down is because we're going to bring this piece over and bump into it, and we need this to be stuck down really good. Okay, so that looks really good. Everything seems to be lining up pretty nicely here. Little black dot on the paint. There we go. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get wrapped over this edge. So when I push on that, it does create a finger here. So we're just gonna work that down. As I'm sure you could see, there was that kind of crescent moon shape there. We might as well get all this down right now. It's just gonna continue to pop up, which then can, travel back and make this corner here pop up. So let's go ahead and go down here, and we'll just take it all the way over to this corner. There we go. And then let's go ahead and get this down now into that recess. A little bit of a interesting way. You gotta get that squeegee in there. Okay, now double checking. As that recess is all squeezed out really good. Okay, and then we'll continue to work our way down here. Okay, swipe some of that out so it quits traveling over. Now let's take a look here and see what they're wanting here. We want to get a nice tight seam. So something like that looks good, and then we're gonna have to deal with this finger here. And that should be manageable. I don't want to just keep working my way over to the seam. We want to get that seam taken care of first. Okay, and I probably could use a little tack in there, but I don't want this pre-tacking too fast. So let's see what we can do with that. So right now I'm looking, well, let's see, we need to bring it down. We don't want to go under that little black plastic there too much. So right there looks good. So we're gonna get from right at my finger, top finger, down to this bottom one here lined up pretty good. Okay, and that's just gonna need tack. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's tough with just straight tack to get that bumped up real nice. Because once it sticks, it's hard to get it to push in anymore to really fill that crack. That sounds like there's a joke there somewhere. Let's go ahead and keep working our way up a little here. Overhanging just a little bit there, so let's get that lifted back up. Okay, just continuing this seam as tight as we can get it all the way up. Okay, and if we can get behind our finger, tack down here, that'll probably help all that stuff stay down. Okay. Sneak some tack into all these edges. And let's get over to this squeegee here so we can get way back into that corner nicely. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and make sure that's lifted up so we don't have too much free tacking there. And then we'll go ahead and get this into place. Now somehow we ended up with something right there underneath. So let's wipe that out real quick. Easy peasy. Kind of... Oh. Not easy peasy, I just moved it up here. Just scrubbing it with my fingernail. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna pull this into the position there, push it up into position a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm pushing it up into place and I'm pulling it this way a little bit to help break this finger up. So some of this finger is here now, and then some of it's on the other side of my hand. Okay, let's go ahead and get some tack in there. Okay. That's kind of a fun little area, huh? Fun. Alright, no pre-tacking. We'll go ahead and swipe out some of this air pocket. We'll put just a little tug on it to get rid of some of that. And not much, just a tiny bit. Make sure that we're lined up really good here. So that does look good right there. Let's make sure we're not hanging over too much on the bottom. Looks like we need to go up a little bit. Okay, that's going to wrap around very nicely. Now let's go ahead and go back to our other squeegee. Oh my gosh, these hairs are going to be the death of me today. I have just entirely too much soap in this today. I need to cut this soap in like half. So let's get some tack in here. Okay, checking my wraparound on the bottom again. Oh. right, got it out that time. Again, we'll get a little tack in here with it. Oh. Now, your best bet when you're working on white cars, if I would have known I had a white car coming in, I wouldn't have worn a black shirt. Because you're just begging, really. You're just begging for more lint and stuff on your person to get, you know, stuck in here. This has got something on the bumper, actually, right there. Okay, let's get a little tack in here because it's just popping up so easily. Even this, I mean, that just keeps popping up and popping up and popping up. I'm not used to, you know, usually I run pretty tacky on my slip solution, but not today. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead. What do we want to do now? Should we just keep going? We'll come back and get this later. Because we are to a body line there, so we can let that just hang out. Because we can always pull up to that body line. And we could leave this for now. Tuck this in behind here. I've got to get some of these black plastic rivets. If any of you have those, what are you using? And is the tool just the same rivet gun as your regular rivets for your aluminum ones? I think they're aluminum. Maybe there's something cheaper than aluminum, I'm not sure, but okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's get all this broken loose now. Okay, now we need this to line up in the same spot it did before on the other side. So right about there looks good. Right there looks good. And actually, let's get some tack in here. So right there-ish and right there-ish. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and squeegee this out. Okay. And that's looking really good. So let's go ahead and come across the bumper here over to our hand. We'll kind of leave some of that stuff just hanging out around the license plate frame for now. And then we'll go ahead and get this down just like this. Okay. All right, so at this point, we'll go ahead and just basically stretch this just like we did the other side. We're gonna go ahead and pull away a little bit here to get this to line up correctly. And then we'll squeegee over to our hand. So let's get a little bit of tack solution in here. Just kind of help dilute that slip mixture that's super slippery today. Okay, so right about there, let's look back here behind our hand. Make sure that we're not hanging over the edge too much. kind of having a hard time believing they want you to round that edge a little, but we're gonna find out, aren't we? So we're up much higher this time. So let's see if we bring it down a little so that we're not going so far underneath the hood or underneath the headlight. Okay, that seems better right there. Okay, let's squeegee out all this air. Okay, then we'll make sure all the moisture is squeegeed out. And then we'll go ahead and stretch up into place up here. But let's first get this tacked all the way over to the fender flare. Oh, look at that, it's already kind of, that opens up pretty easy. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and stretch up to here after we get a little bit of tack in that very edge. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, and then let's make sure we're good lined up top and bottom. That looks good. What do we got going? What's up with this finger here? Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll take all this out this side, and then we'll take the rest of this out that way. Okay, and then we'll come back to that. And now we'll go ahead and stretch this down. Okay, so this time we're gonna make sure we're hanging over the edge this way just a little bit. Lining it up really good on the bottom there. Actually, I'm hanging over just a little bit, and there is material or room to roll under just a little. Okay, we'll bring the rest of this over just a little bit this way. Go ahead and squeegee that down. Take all the rest out this direction. Bumping into the fender flare here. There we go. Okay, tuck that in. And we'll get back to that later. Making sure that all that is nicely squeegeed out. Okay, again, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this piece around. Let's get this out of the way a little bit here. Okay, we'll roll this, take that to the back. Make sure that all this is over, at least over the edge here. On that bend, we're gonna hold that down. We'll work our way up to our finger. Okay, and then we'll push up around this corner. Oh, maybe I got a little aggressive with it. What can happen is, you know, there was no tack really. I don't think, you know, no fresh tack in there. And so by getting a little bit more aggressive with that, you could put a stretch on it, and then when that goes to pop loose, it you know, just it pops off at that point. Okay. Once more with some fresh tacky tack in there. There we go. And I'll just hold that in place for a few seconds. Make sure it stays. Again, that's lining up really good on that back edge there in there, so no trimming, which will be nice. Let's go ahead and get a little tack under here and round this in. And the area I'm most concerned about is right here, where we're going to bring this piece up to it and butt into it. Okay. Everything feels good. I don't feel any ripples or anything where there could be moisture left behind. Now let's go ahead and get this into place. Okay, I'm going to start by rolling this under. Get some tack in here. Okay, and then we'll push this down all the way over. Take it all the way back now. Okay, now let's take care of this. So that's lining up really good. Just got to get rid of this air now in here. Okay, and kind of the problem we're having here is that, well, there's some tension on there, as well as this has all tack in it. So every time I round over a little bit, we're like tacking things down that maybe we're not fully ready for them to be tacked down yet. Okay, so something like that looks really good. And let's see, do I want to put any extra tension on it at all? These fingers mean there's tension coming this way on the material. And so the way to fix that is to pull down on that a little bit. Let's see if we can do something like that. We don't want to remove all the tension because we don't really need to be coming down. So let's then squeegee those out. And when you squeegee those out, you want to go with them. You don't want to squeegee across them. You want to go with them. Otherwise you will just fold them over on themselves. Let's check how we're doing over here for alignment, because we are bumping into this a little bit. So let's go ahead and lift this back up. And actually, so I'm gonna put a little tension down this way, like that, and then we're gonna squeegee these fingers out this way. Now, let's see what we got going here. We might have to trim this just a little bit right here. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead, do something like that. Okay, now we're lined up really well here. Now let's see what we can do with the rest of that. I'm gonna get this down real quick. Okay. All right, just getting some slip in there, because we don't want that all tacked down, right? It's going to be really hard to squeegee out if it's all tacked down. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of tension down on this one to get rid of that one. Okay, let's get rid of this one. Okay, we're just gonna continue to work our way down. Now we didn't have this problem on the other side, which means at some point I got the material just a tiny bit pulled this way too much is what happened there. Okay, there we go. Now we've got that problem all fixed up. Man, a little bit of a rough go at it. I mean, it's looking great now, but okay. So let's see. Looks like we could come down just a little bit there, and that'll help get rid of some of this extra material here. I'm going to go ahead and put some tack in this area, and we'll put a little bit of stretch down. Make sure that we're not going over and hanging over that way, because that's going to be really, really hard to trim. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and squeegee down to there. Now let's take care of this seam. Oh, we got a free tack in there. Okay, that's pushed up really nicely. Let's see if I can even sneak a little tack in that seam. Okay, let's let that tack up a little bit there. And then as we go up, we're gonna have more finger this time, and we need to stretch up to this corner. Wow, you guys are getting to watch me really kind of fight this a little. And all of this problem is from having the material a little bit too far this way from this area here. Alignment, you know, is crucial. I don't usually have this much problem, but obviously I got something just a little bit off today in this area. Okay, I snuck a little tack in there and then it just immediately tacked down. I wanted to get it to turn just a little bit into that corner. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of tack in this edge here because it turns right at the top a bit. So I want to see if I can get this film to like twist and just help keep that seam a little bit tighter. And it's not really working out with the tack solution, so let's get a little bit more slip in there. I think the best bet probably would have been to just go and remix my solution. Okay, so I'm going to hold that in place there. I'll try and sneak a little tack over by my finger there. We're going to try and get this to stay down that spot. Okay, that looks really good if that'll stay. Actually, I'm just going to let that top part, oops, not that far down. Oh, the other side definitely went better. Well, now you guys get to watch what it's like when I have to fight for my right to get this PPF done. Okay, what's happening here is it's like hanging over So I keep pulling it back, trying to get this to line up, but then it's way off up here on the top. Okay, so that's actually looking pretty good. Let me get some more tack in here. I'll get that part to stick down. It's closer than closer seam than it's been this whole time, so that's looking good. And then we need to go ahead and pop some of this back up because it was kind of pinching over it here on itself. So let's get all of this then. Lift it up a bit. Making sure not to mess with the seam at all. Even though I just did. Oh, this makes me want to say something I can't say on here. Alright, let's see what we can do here. This is a solid finger to push out. So let's get this kind of stretched up and out this way. And then we'll have to deal with the rest of this finger out here. And then look at that. We got a little piece of lint out here, of course. It's just going to be one of those days today. What? Something feels broken. Okay, so we're going to stretch out some of that finger here and put it over here, and then we're just basically splitting it up. Then let's go ahead and squeegee over to our hand. I also was pushing up a little in order to make sure we're lining up real good up there at the top. And then let's go ahead and see what we can do about getting this finger out. And we're going to need some more tack solution in there. Wow, something came out from behind there, that big old thing. Okay, we gotta go back up. Something like that's gonna look good. Oh, this must be my first time doing paint protection film. I don't even know if I should make a video out of this. What are you guys thinking about this video? Watch me struggle. I didn't even move much of the finger over to here, so we still ended up with most of it in this area. Okay, then I popped that loose. All right. Well, what are we doing here, huh? Why don't we trade places for a little bit and have you guys tell me what to do? Because obviously I have no idea what I'm doing here in this part. Alright. Finally got all that crap down. Damn. Alright. While that's down now, let's go ahead and try this edge out, because these little fingers over here in this area that had all those fingers is just going to want to continue to pop back up with the moisture underneath it or on that edge. So let's give it a fighting chance here. And you know, we did end up with some distortions in the adhesive right here from pushing that up and screwing around with it for so long. It's really no big deal, especially because this car, I mean, first off, it doesn't hurt anything, right? It's just not great. But because the car is white, it's really not noticeable at all, which is, you know, perfect. If this was a black car, you know, we might have had to change up and pull this back up and do things a bit differently. Okay, now I have a red hair right here. I mean, we're just gonna fight through this. You know, some days are just like this. You got to keep just pushing on through, which is unfortunate. But I mean, here's what I know: is in the end, I'm gonna win. It's just how long is it gonna take me to get there? I feel like I've already spent way more time on this bumper than it should have required. And I bet if I went back and kind of figured out between the two sides, the first side went a lot faster and better. That's how it goes sometimes. So this seam, when you're pushing this whole piece into it and bumping it into itself, the seam is much easier to get nice and tight than it is to try and stretch this now over to this. But I need that to be a really good seam, so I'm gonna just continue to do it until it goes how I want it, finishes how I want it to be. It's too soapy, and the tack is too tacky. Okay, I'm gonna overlap a little there. Then we're gonna let that come back. I'm just gonna work my way down this seam little by little. So we're overlapping. I'm releasing the tension, letting it kind of even out, so that they're just not overlapping anymore. Okay, so that's looking really good. We're down to like the last little 1/4 inch. Beautiful, okay. Some tack in there now. Get this rounded under just a little. Okay. Oh my gosh. What a mess that was. All right, let's go ahead. Let's see here. I want to go back to underneath these headlights. Let's do that, and then we'll get this middle section down. No, I'm just gonna do this section here. So we can pull all the way back up to this body line here. Okay, and then let's go ahead and squeegee all of this down. Okay, quite a bit of tension in that corner there. A little bit surprised they don't have a relief cut on that. But let's get this down. So you can see I'm just holding that down with my finger, and then I'm trying to get this pushed down, and then I'll follow it right up with my finger again. Wow, that's... This bumper is like... not as easy as I would have anticipated it being. Honestly, I did not think this bumper was going to be this hard. It's been quite a bit more difficult than I anticipated. Okay. Squeegee this all down. Alright, it was kind of a bad decision not to just pull this off of here, I feel like. Okay. Give up then. Great, you guys just do your thing. I'm just gonna quit recording anything.